Got to start. I'm really sorry. Right, what are we doing? We are doing fascia. What language am I speaking? So yeah, been going through the body, looking at different lines of fascia. So first week we did superficial front line from big toe, and it's so fascia is webbing that runs through your whole body, but there's like main lines that kind of run in particular routes. And what I was going to say about the Thai yoga massage that I'm doing, the column stem lines, and you palpate them, and it helps release tension through your body. But anyway, like first week we did toes to throat. Second week we did soles of feet up the back to the crown of head, well actually onto your forehead. This week we're doing lateral line, so we're doing side of the body. So it starts at the back of the heel, goes up through your sorry, I've got no leggings, look at these. Oh my god, it follows the leather leggings. Yeah, it goes up the side of your leg. I'm trying to think of another name of that muscle, but I've completely forgotten it. Goes up your IT band, goes through your glutes, and then there's two muscles that I've got a love-hate relationship. Either side of your spine called your quadratus lumborum, and this is what it does. The tighten to bring your ribs over to your hips, and when you're walking, it kind of tightens some of your hip up so you can go upstairs and stuff. So it runs through them, and it goes up under your ribs, and it ends either side of your neck. So you've had an injury. So like I got one over years ago. Got hit on this side at the time. Flew through the air, landed on the floor, cracked up a bone in my foot, and thought I'd broken my foot. And at the time, didn't think anything more of it. But then over the years, I just thought, oh, everything on this side hurts. And I think obviously when I got to have the injury, things contracted, you start walking differently, and then things start to hurt. So that I'm a very lateral fascia person. And like I remember when I had Felix, I used to carry him on this hip all the time, so I'm right-handed, and so using the right arm to open doors and to do stuff. And again, it could even be from just habituated movement. You can get tightness through this fascial line. So we're looking at today at lengthening it and strengthening it, and so hopefully it might be that something reveals itself and you'll be like, ooh, that feels better, or you might just think, oh, that's interesting, good to know for future. So are you all right then? Good. Right, we are going to start. We'll start sitting. I was having the people lying down, but it's not mega warm, so we can sit. So sit however you like. Give me your socks, Christy. You've got little toes in there. Oh, everyone's got toe socks. You've got toe socks. Anyway. Right, so sitting comfortably, however that seems to be for you, and just closing your eyes and just taking your awareness down your spine. So I usually start at the crown of the head, but I want to start at the bottom this time. So however you've chosen to sit, if you can just sense the weight of your hips on the floor and the weight of your bottom on the floor, and that sounds really weird. But kind of noticing whether or not you are carrying your weight more to one side, or are you sitting evenly through your butt cheeks? And then as you're going up your spine, notice your lumbar curve, and then how you've got that little outward curve of your ribs, and then into your neck, and then you've got the roundness of your skull, and that gentle lift of your head upwards to the ceiling. And I did read a book once that kind of likened the spine to the mast on a boat. So if you could just then picture that mast of the spine, and then you imagine on a boat you've got all those little wires and ropes that keep the spine, that mast erect. Would you feel there's a pull to one side, or would it feel kind of even in how it's being held upwards? And then if you can send your shoulders like weighing scales from your heart out to your collarbones, to your arms, would they look balanced? And then we're just going to picture our breath moving in and out of the body. So as you take your next breath, feel your breath moving inwards and feel your breath moving outwards. And then just picture you could sense where the breath is moving. Can you feel your breath maybe going into your right lung and out of your right lung? And can you see your breath going into your left lung and out of your left lung? And then picture your breath going equally into the lungs. So let's bring our hands to heart and take an in-breath here. Out-breath, pushing your hands forward, press your ribs back, so you're kind of yawning into the backs of your shoulders. So your hands are roughly in line with your shoulders, palms are spread. And then we can release the hands, take them upwards, press your heart forwards, and then take your hands out and wide, and then again bring them down by your side. In-breath in the middle, out-breath, pushing forwards, ribs are back, looking down, and then in-breath, taking your hands up and wide. So you see shape in the spine in both directions. So as you push your hands forward, your heart presses back. And as you take your hands up, your heart presses forward. So just kind of working through the front and the back lines of fascia to start with. So as we bring those hands forward and press the ribs back, we'll lengthen that back line of fascia from tailbone to neck. And as we take those hands up and press the heart forwards, we open the front line from pubic bone to throat. And as you take your heart forward, so you feel your shoulders sliding down your back and your muscles in your back kind of tightening, and then we can release them as we take the hands forwards. And then we'll take ourselves to middle, looking out to your right, take your right hand outwards towards the wall by your side. In breath, taking your right hand up to the ceiling, and then just place your left hand down, and we're going to just keep sweeping up. So bend your left elbow, sweeping your hand over. In breath, push off that left hand, place your right hand down, left hand sweeps up, and again going the opposite way. So we're moving into these little lateral lines. So in breath, coming back to middle, out breath, sweeping over. In breath, coming back, and again out breath, sweeping over. So just take your awareness where you can feel it. So it might be that you're going to feel this deeply in your ribs, maybe to your armpits. And then we're going to hold it on the next time. So as we take that right hand over, place your left hand down, palm is down, spread through your fingers. So you're just going to bend that left elbow, press your right hip into the floor, and just reach with the fingers. So you could even straighten your arm if you want to. Palm down, reach with your fingers. And then moving back, taking your hands the opposite way. So again, reaching over. Bend your right elbow, press down. Again, spread your fingers. You could straighten your arm, and you're drawing down with your left hip. And then moving back to middle, placing your fingertips on the floor in front of you, so as though you could play the piano. I can't play the piano, but as though you can. And then walk your hands out in front of you, and we're just lengthening that back line of our body. If you stay on your fingertips, and then bring the crown of the head in line with the spine, and then breathe deeply into your shoulders. So just take an in-breath, feel your shoulders rising and expanding, and then out-breath, allow your shoulders to sink. So expanding the back line of fascia. So from here, if you can then come up onto all fours and then go down into child's pose, but stay on your fingers. So as you lower you can keep your head off the floor if you want to. Stay on those fingertips. So as your hands are forward, you should have your wrists and your elbows off the floor. And again, you're breathing into the back line of your body, from your tailbone to the back of your, to the crown of your head. And then have a look at your hands and have a look at your right hand. Walk your right hand to the right and bring your left hand to join it. So again, I've got them, same, when I have them shoulder distance, I've kind of kept that space between them. And then staying on fingertips and allowing the head to drip down towards the floor. So again, you can breathe down your left side from your left middle finger down into your armpit, down into those ribs. Breathing all the way down into your lower back. Get a good sense of that sign, that lateral line running again along the side waist. Walking your hands back to middle, have a look to the left hand side. So you can walk your left hand off the mat and then bring the right hand over too. And again, lower your forehead down and again breathing into that side of your body. You might even feel your body twisting a little bit as the breath fills the belly. And then taking your hands back to middle, planting your palms, we're going to move into cat, well, I'll call it cat-cow cobra. It probably isn't. It's child cat cobra, but there you go. So you push with your shins into the floor, your weight comes forwards into your hands, and then we're just going to firstly let our hips come towards the floor. So just pressing down with your hands, elbows bend, let your hips kind of be held by your hands, heart comes forwards, and then bend your elbows, come down until you're on your belly. So you've got your forehead and your nose on the floor. We're just going to then sweep the nose forwards till it lifts up, crown of the head begins to move upwards towards the ceiling. So we're using the back of our bodies to rise up. Push them with your hands and then hinging back. Inhaling, push with those shins, floating forwards, weight into hands, and again let your hips come forward, point your toes, lift your heart. Elbows bend, coming down onto tummy. Sweeping with your nose, let your head lead you up. Then push with your hands and float back. In breath, push. And again, out, breath just kind of pausing, so you're opening the front line of your body, so from the tips of your toes all the way to your throat, sense the big line we played with the other week. And then coming into neutral as we lay down on the floor. And then we're going to stay here. So you know this, we've been doing this all last week, Julie, so we're going to come now into a cactus position with our arms. If you could take your elbows out in line with your shoulders and have your hands on the floor like you're being arrested. So, and then we're going to start to play with these shoulders a little bit. So the movement is called swimming shoulders. And so with your right hand, so just resting with your hands on the floor, like I say, I want you to think of your right shoulder, push it into the floor, towards your ear, and that will lift your elbow a little tiny bit, towards the ceiling behind you, and then down towards your bottom, and then towards the floor, towards your ear. So elbow might lift towards your shoulder, towards the ceiling, down towards your bottom, and then back down towards the floor. So it starts off with a bit of a boxy movement, but it starts to become a bit of a circular movement. So your chest might lift, your head might lift. Let the movement come from your shoulders. So like my elbow's coming up off the floor, but I'm not pushing with my hand. It's moving because the shoulder is moving the arm that's in that socket. So to the floor, to the ear, to the ceiling, to the bottom, and you're just circling the very best you can the right shoulder. And that's it. So just let your head lift if it needs to, let your head drop. So you're circling that shoulder. That's it. So it's supposed to resemble the action that your arm does as you're doing the backstroke. So as you're doing the backstroke, the arm comes forward, it goes to the ear, it goes back, it goes down without really thinking about it because the arm is doing the movement. But we're just trying to get the shoulders to wake up a little tiny bit. And what this does as well, it kind of massages into these ribs where that fascial line is. It is massaging into the neck where that fascial line kind of ends near the ear. And you might even feel yourself sway a little bit to the right every time you do it. So it's just inviting movement down that little fascial line. So shall we relax it? Because it gets very tiring. And then think about your left shoulder. So do the same. Push the left shoulder towards the floor, towards your ear, towards the ceiling, down towards your bottom, towards the floor, towards your ear, towards the ceiling, and towards your bottom. And just, again, it starts boxy, it starts a bit square, and then it starts to develop into a really lovely little circle. So again, your elbow's going to lift, and but let your shoulder be the originator of the movement. So the elbow lifts because the shoulder is asking it to. And again, your chest might move because the shoulder is needing it to. So again, just feel how you can kind of drift a little bit over. I do actually feel that left wrist kind of does get involved a little bit. So again, it's a consequence. It's not actually doing the movement for me. Oh, lovely. I can see that on mine. It looks very nice. Okay, so when you're ready, so like I say, it resembles the backstroke action that your arms do when you're in the pool, about to bang your head on the side of the pool. So we're going to push the right shoulder forwards and then take the right shoulder towards the ear. And then as you bring that right shoulder back towards the ceiling, press your left shoulder towards the floor. Then as you bring that right shoulder down your back, the left shoulder goes towards the ear. And then the left shoulder goes towards the ceiling, the right shoulder goes towards the floor. And just see if you can begin to draw alternate circles. I'm watching you now, see how you're getting on there, Sam. Yeah, this one is my brain. This one, isn't it? This one, yeah. Yeah, you can see it. Look, you just got out of the habit of moving. Yeah, yeah. It's like I said, when I got Minerva, you walk differently, your body forgets that, what it needs to do, and I can see that with your injury. It's really very nice to see it's working a bit more. Yeah. Your brain and your muscles are working together. You can't stop, by the way, it gets very tiring. There's another little movement which I've not been teaching in this class, but I will, and it's a great little movement, and it resembles doing the breaststroke. So when you do the breaststroke, the hands go out in front of you, they go wide. I've got a brought up and I'll show you my shoulders. Get me. Woo. No one else had this treatment. But you put your hands up, they go wide, and then they come in, and they've got this kind of, you see a little bit of a squeeze in action of the shoulders that are coming in towards your spine. So we're going to try and do that, but on the floor again. So this time I find if you, where do they need to be? Again, that cactus, a little bit lower than cactus this time. And I'd like you to think of, firstly, squeezing your shoulders together as though you're holding a pencil between them. So I'm going to squeeze the shoulders together. Do you notice when I do that, my hands are going to stay still? I kind of feel like I'm turning taps on when I do this. So squeeze the shoulders inwards, the elbows come in and the hands kind of pivot, the heart lifts. So it's like I'm squeezing a pencil together between the shoulder blades, and then I'm going to let that movement go. I'm just going to let my forehead come down to the floor. So again, it's the squeeze of the shoulder blades, the elbows come in, the hands turn out, and you lift, and then again sinking back down. Okay, well, I just think that this might be quite a good one to do. So again, just feel that little sensation of the shoulders and the lift, and again release it. It's interesting that you can move from these parts of the body, isn't it? Because you're going into a bit of a cobra, but normally you'd be saying lead with the crown of the head, but it's the action of the shoulders is rising you up. And then release it. This time sliding your hands down either side of your chest. So your elbows are now pointing back. You can feel the palms on the floor. And then we're going to squeeze the right shoulder back towards the ceiling and then in and down towards your bottom. And then releasing it. So back towards the ceiling and then in and down towards your bottom. And then releasing it. And what I tend to find in doing that is that you squeeze that right side of your body, so that lateral line on that right side into that QL, into the fascia that runs all the way through the muscles on that right side are getting a little bit squished, and you can kind of start to find that you turn your head to look down towards that right side of your mat. And so do you notice every time you do it that you lean a little bit to your left? So the next time you do it, slide your right knee out from underneath you and slide your right knee up towards your right elbow. And then push your feet to the end of the mat. So that right shoulder comes back and in, rolling slightly to the left, and then you can slide that right foot up towards your right elbow and again come back down again. So it starts to look a bit like the bad Spider-Man or a bad Batman, you know, from the, I don't even know who used to be in it, but it used to be on the TV when I was growing up, and they'd be climbing up a wall and they'd have like a cape on and you knew they were just walking along the floor because the cape was wrong. And it feels like you're trying to learn to kind of climb on the floor. So we're going to pause and then we'll do it on the left side. So squeezing that left shoulder down, up towards the ceiling and then down and in towards your sacrum. And just kind of feeling how you begin just to kind of lift up on that left side and your head kind of turns down to look towards your left elbow, down towards your left hip. So again, that movement originates in the shoulders, but it begins to kind of concertina at that left side of the body, and you shorten that left side of the body. But in shortening that left side of the body, we're pandiculating those muscles, we're waking them up, we're kind of getting them to come alive. And you might feel then that you roll to that right side a little bit, and then if you can slide your left knee out towards your left armpit and slide it back down. So just try that a few times, and then we'll bring it together as though we are actually climbing in a bad Batman style. So when you're ready, right shoulder, slide the right knee, and left shoulder, slide the left knee. Right shoulder, slide the right knee. Left shoulder, slide the left knee. You might want to stop, so it gets very tiring. And then pause in. And just let your forehead rest on the floor. And we're going to bend both knees this time. So bend both knees, place your hands back to the side of your waist, side of your chest. And then lift your right thigh up off the floor. And then take your feet across to the left. Your pelvis will roll. Bring yourself back to middle, lift your left thigh up and take your feet over to the right, and your pelvis will roll. Moving back to middle, right thigh to the left, left thigh to the right, so just let your pelvis roll. And then we're going to see about coming up from this position. So as you take your right thigh off the ground and to the left, push with your right hand until your feet are behind you. Keep taking your hands around to the right side, look over your right shoulder. And then come back. Take your hands back around the body, come back onto your tummy. Take your left thigh off the floor and push with your hands. Your feet should start to find the floor behind you. Straighten your arms and just keep going until you are looking over your left shoulder. So close. And then come all the way back down again. So you're going to give yourself a big heave ho. So again, that's it. Push in, straighten your arms. That's it. Push, push. There you go. And then going the other way. And then we'll move to seated. So just taking yourself the next time you're up to seated. People either love or hate that. Right.
Can I just ask you? I find I'm taking an awful lot of weight on my arms, so am I not doing it wrong?
What, in that movement? I think it just comes for me. I feel my feet help me a lot. So I have to think about that when I'm doing it. There is a lot, actually. There is a big push. But yeah, it's my feet help me. My feet, I feel like they pull me over. So it could be that your feet aren't far enough over. For me, it feels like like you get like a counterbalance thing. That kind of pulls
I
you
think
into
I'm
it.
taking the strain more on my arms.
Yeah.
than what it is.
Your feet do a lot of the work. But for me, when I feel the feet go behind me, already I'm kind of feeling that is actually like, it's the feet that's got a lot of the weight of me. He's kind of pulling me up. It'll come, don't worry, I'll be doing it next week, no doubt. What are we doing next? Okay, so we're gonna work towards some balancey stuff and some side planks. I'm really sorry, but you can do some really nice versions of it. So you can have elbow down, and you can keep your feet on the floor. But anyway, first things, we're going on to all fours. So supporting yourself through your hands, walking your knees somewhere under your hips, and we're going to move into that kind of diagonal thing. So you don't have to take both hands on both hands. Yeah, that'd be weird. Taking your hands and feet off the floor at the same time. So firstly, settling into all fours, and we're going to take the right foot to the back of the mat. So go onto the ball. Firstly, spread your toes, so open out the soles of your feet, and then from there, bring your focus into your lower back. So just maybe place one of your hands on your lower back. Notice how that feels, and then can you lift your leg up and keep your lower back from dipping? Placing your hands back down, and then we're just going to keep pushing away with the sole of that foot. And then take your right foot out to the side. So in doing this, we're using the side of the hip, so the glute med. So what we're trying not to do is to swing the whole spine over. So you're going to keep that weight balanced in your hands, taking that right leg out a little bit, so it's the side of your glute on your buttocks that you can feel squeezing, and then we'll bring that right foot back and lower the knee. So you might just kind of want to give your right hand a little bit of a shake off, because we're going to now take that weight into that right side. So taking your right hand, taking your weight subtly to the right, take your left hand out in front of you. So you're going to spread your fingers, thumb pointing to the ceiling. That's it, fantastic, spreading through your hands. So in doing this, it's actually the back line of fascia that's getting a lot of work here. So you might feel it through the shoulders. That shoulder is drawing down the back, tightening the back, and those fingers being spread. And then let's take that hand slightly out to the left. So this is again now that lateral line under the armpit, bringing the hand forwards, and again one more time out to the left. And then let's place that hand back down. Might be quite nice now just to go and relax in child and just give your hands a bit of a roll in a circle. And then let's see how we feel about doing the whole thing. So let's move up to all fours. And like I say, you don't have to do the whole thing. It could be, in fact, quite nice to go around it like a little clock. So slide your right foot back first, and then lift the leg up. And then we can drop it down. And then do the left arm. And drop it down. And right foot. And drop it down. Just timing that with your breath. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. But if you want to, you could bring both hand and leg up at the same time and reach the hand out to the left and the foot out to the right. Bring it back to center. Hand to the left, foot to the right. Bring it back to center. And then placing everything down and having a little roll in child's pose. So again, relax through your hands, relax through your wrists, let your shoulders slide across your back. Moving back to all fours and then thinking about your other side. So sliding your left foot back, and again I do like just place that hand on the lower back sometimes just so I can watch what it's doing. And then we lift that left leg up, push away through the sole of the foot. And then if you want to, try taking your left leg out to the side. So again, try not to C-shape the spine, keep the spine relatively straight, and it's those muscles on the side of the hip that are squeezing to take the leg out. Bringing it back. Mine always get fatigued on that left side because this is my wonky side. And then lowering the knee down. So your right hand comes next. So again, taking the right hand up. So you're spreading the thumbs. Again, I experience this as a tightening of those muscles on the shoulder, drawing down towards the back of the hips. And then as we take the hand out, again, there's that little bit of a squeezing underneath the right arm, down into the right ribs to bring the arm out. So again, just play with waving the arm out in front of you. And then let's take ourselves back down and sink into child's pose, release. Give your hands a bit of a roll, a bit of a shake, a bit of a wiggle. This is the toughest part of the class, by the way. Moving back to all fours, and then we have the opportunity to kind of join all that together, or not maybe. So with your left leg, slide it out behind, lift the leg, lower it down. Lift the right arm, lower it down. Inhale, left leg. Exhale, left leg. Inhale, right arm. Exhale, right arm. And again, you can just keep doing this, or you might try to bring them both together. So left leg, right arm, spreading the fingers, pushing the sole away. And again, you can take the leg out to the side, right hand out to the side, bringing it back. Or you can just keep going back to where you feel most comfortable. And then please lie down. So settle back down into child's pose. Give your hands a very, very, very good roll around on the floor. Oy, oy, oy. See your hands going there. Right, okay, so moving into side plank. And it doesn't have to be as evil as it sounds. So some people quite like doing the whole thing on their elbows, and just makes the first part of the movement a bit uneven, really, for me. I'm happiest on my hands, but if you want to come down onto elbows and do this, then please do it. But we're going to get to the side plank by moving the back leg. So we're going to slide, so this is on elbows, this is on hands. The movement to get to the side plank is going to involve sliding the right foot out behind you, turning the heel in. So your pelvis is already kind of turning in the direction, and then bringing the knee down. So you just, you don't even have to go into side plank, you could just kind of take it as a nice little rolling movement. But can you see my right wrist wants to lift as the shoulder turns? And then I'm going to kind of roll into it and take the hand up. So again, for me, if you keep that knee down on the floor, it's a lot lighter. And you can make it more side planky by then lifting up the other leg, pushing out the sole of the foot. So we're recruiting these muscles down this right side. So we're getting the idea of kind of rolling into your side plank. So you're onto all fours and that left knee stays down. You just turn that right foot outwards and planting. So just kind of spiraling into your side plank. So just rolling into it, getting that balance on your left side, taking the hand up, and then when you're ready, just explore the idea of lifting that right foot up off the floor. Imagine if you were to look down as though you were standing. So that right foot is under your hip. You're pushing the sole away. You might even then draw a little circle with that right leg in the air. And then let's take that right hand down and switch sides, shall we? So when you're ready, think about your left knee, sliding that to the back of the mat and bringing the heel in, and just, let the movement float up from your foot into your hip, into your ribs, to the shoulder. And there'll be a nice point where you kind of feel your left wrist begin to lift maybe, and then you could take your left hand off the floor and settle in, take the hand to the ceiling, balancing down through those bones, taking your gaze to your left thumb, and then lifting that left foot up. So keep the foot, if you can, like underneath your hip, feeling how the muscles on that left side of the body have recruited, and we can then draw some circles with that left leg. That's interesting. That's pound and niggle on the right side. Do more of that at home. Okay, so when you're ready, spiral back down and sink into child's pose. We are all going to stand up now. So just let everything go. Head heavy, belly on your thighs, breathing into shoulders. Really think of just letting go for these next few moments. Okay, so from here, shall we step towards a fold? So coming towards standing, so when you're there, rolling up. That's all the hard work done. Totally is. Actually, the end's got a little bit of a hard bit, but not as hard as that. Right, so winding your feet and looking over towards your right shoulder, take your right hand out, spread your fingers, and then we'll take that hand up to the ceiling. Kind of repeat what we did earlier, but standing this time. Sweeping your hand across, left hand shifts down, moving back, out breath. Moving back, out breath. So it's like your hips shift outwards with this. So I was watching someone the other day and her hips were in the middle and she was just moving the top half. So let your hips push in the opposite direction to where you're moving. In breath, coming back. So as you shift across to your left, your hips move to the right. In breath, out breath. So again, as you move to the right, hips shift to the left. In breath, out breath. So we're going to move into a little sequence called Golden Seed next. So as you move back to centre, we're going to bring the hands to heart. Just kind of pausing for your footprints. Settling into the rhythm of your breath. And then we'll interlace the fingers here, taking in breath. And as you take an out breath, push your hands up to the ceiling with your palms upwards. In breath here. Out breath will go to your right. In breath to middle. Out breath to your left. In breath to middle. Take your hands to heart, heels in, toes out like a little penguin. Wiggle your feet, get into your footprints. So you just want to feel through your big toes, your little toes, that sense of glue. Out breath, bending your knees, sinking down into this, it's called horse stance. So you're kind of physically supporting yourself through those feet. Push down with your feet to rise back up. Turning your feet forwards, and then we're going to take ourselves down into fold. So have your hands on your shins, walk your hands down your shins, bend your knees. As your feet come, your hands come down to your feet, bend your knees and go into a deep squat. So your hips are pushing back, that's it. Take your hands onto the floor and then straighten your legs. So keep your fingertips on the floor, straightening your legs. Bending your knees again, back into that deep squat. So hips back, knees forwards, straighten your spine like a little sumo. And then again, exhale, sink yourself back down into deep fold. One more time, bend your knees. So again, you've got that sense of your knees and your hips being lined up, your spine is straight. This time, push down with your feet, rise to standing, taking your hands upwards to the ceiling. And exhaling, hands to heart. So inhale, pushing hands up. Exhale to your right. Inhale back, exhale to your left. Inhale back to middle, heels in, toes out. So again, get your footprints right because you're going to support yourself. Bending your knees, trying to keep your spine nice and straight as you come down. And then that big deep push, straightening up. So let movement come from your legs. Turn your feet forwards. Walk your hands down your thighs, down your shins to your feet. As your hands come to your feet, bend your knees, go into sumo squat. So your hips are back, knees, that's it. Walking your hands forwards onto the floor and then exhale, straighten the legs, take a deep fold. And then in breath, coming back again to our little sumo. So as we the spine straightens, but as we go into our fold, we'll let the spine do what it needs to do. Just let your head hang, releasing. One more sumo squat, and then from that position, once you can feel your feet has got your weight, straighten your legs, power yourself to standing, taking your hands to the sky, in breath, out breath. Interlacing, in breath, out breath. In breath, out breath. Heels in, toes out, so get your support, out breath. In breath, out breath. So you've got those little sumo folds. So again, each time you bend those knees and you get your hips in line, your spine straightens as much as it needs to, so your heart will lift and comes forwards. And as you sink into fold, let your spine relax, let your head dangle. And then again, coming back into sumo squat, so strengthening those hips. Exhaling down. And then final sumo, but then you press down through the feet, come up. And again, we're just going to do two more. In breath, out breath. 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 In breath, and then this time we push to standing, out breath. Final one. Stepping your feet back under. And then walking yourself to the front of your mat. We're going to go into just a couple of versions of triangle and then two side movements. So you're starting with your feet at the front of your mat. You're going to slide your left foot backwards. They've got skis on, so we're not turning because that's the next posture. So imagine you're going to try and keep your feet straight forwards as you step your feet back. So once you've landed, have a look at your feet. So there will be a turnout in your left foot, but don't let it be too much of a turnout. That will help your feet stay forwards. Once we've got that, we're going to move into Parsvatanasana that we've been doing. So we're trying to do it with a straight spine. So if you could place your hand on your tailbone and your hand on the crown of your head, get a good sense of the length of your spine, its relationship to your hips, your head relationship to your hips. Think of the front of your body, you know, how that feels in its present state. We're going to soften and unsoften the front knee. And then place one hand on the lower back, one hand on that mid back, and they're going to tell you if your spine is moving. We want to try and keep the sense of space we've just felt. So when you take your movement, it's coming from that pelvis, so the pelvis will tilt. So when you're ready, in breath, out breath, tilting. So as you're tilting, we're thinking of trying to keep that sense of space with the front and back of body. So you might be going down too far before your spine wants to fold. And just kind of breathe again all the way from the front, from your pubic bone to the collarbone. Fantastic, really nice straight spines, everybody. Lovely. Take your right hand now, drop it down onto your shin, onto your thigh, wherever it's closest, the arm is straight, and then twist your left shoulder up and back towards the ceiling. You can make sure you all lay the left arm on the side of the body, so just rest your left hand on the side of the hip or on the side of the thigh, wherever it lands. And so we just imagine you're doing this against a wall, that we're now bringing that left shoulder up towards the wall behind you. And then if you can, spread your fingers and reach your left hand up. Imagine you're turning left on a bicycle, that's it. So your hand is going directly out. Spread your fingers. So from your thumb to your little finger. That's it. So imagine you're turning left. So imagine doing this against a wall. So if your bottom's protruded backwards, your bum will be against the wall, but your shoulders be away from the wall. And just from your left ear down that left side of your body, all the way down to that left sole, that left shin, can we sense that line that we're trying to stretch today? Turn your body back towards the floor, and then we're going to push down with that left foot and rise up. Left foot, right foot, and rise back up. And then step your feet together. So we're going to then move into that same posture, but done a little bit differently. This time your feet are together. And imagine you're a gymnast, and we're going to take the left foot behind us on one of those beams. So like standing a little bit into your right foot, lift your left knee, step it out and back. So it tends to work better with a wide stance, this one. So have a look at your feet now. So your front heel is lined up with your back inner arch, if you can. And you're going to lift the toes of your left foot, spread them, drop them down, because this foot is your rooting foot. So again, front heel, back inner arch. Soften at the front knee, so don't have that don't have it locked out. And then taking your hands out, as though we're going to go into warrior two. Your palms are down, you're looking at your right middle finger, and then I'm visualising that just beneath my right hand I've got a shelf, and I'm going to slide the hand along the shelf. I'm trying to reach along it, so I'm sliding forwards, trying to keep the hand in line with where it was previously, and then the hand comes down to the shin, and the left hand moves up correspondingly towards the ceiling. That's it. So you're creating a big line from your right wrist all the way to your left hand. Amazingly. That's it. Fantastic. So make sure your right knee isn't locked out. So you kind of, for me, I feel the support of that right foot. And breathing again, length of space from the left ear all the way down to the left foot. It's actually a bit of strengthening going on, isn't it? That left side is trying its best not to collapse, so you can feel that it's a strengthening posture. Bend now your right knee, push off the right foot. We're going to glide ourselves to warrior two. So just reach your left hand towards the back wall. You're trying to steady your heart over your hips, kind of settle into your footprints, have a little bounce. Taking your gaze out towards your right middle finger. That's it, really good. So bend your right knee. Place your right hand down on your right thigh and just relax your left arm, and then we're going to go into a side bend. So we're going to begin to bend that right elbow, and we can then just place the right hand on the knee and support ourselves. So again, imagine you're doing this against a wall with your shoulders and your hips on the wall. And then you might take your right hand and place the arm down. So you just go a little bit lower if you're doing, you're spreading your fingers, supporting yourself from the foot to the knee, to the shoulder. Your left hand, turn your palm out, reach the ceiling. So again, spread those fingers. You're pushing down for your left elbow, and that is going to, sorry, for your right elbow, and then you're kind of lifting that left hand up, up, up towards the ceiling. And then if you wish, turn your left hand to face the front of your mat, and then bring the hand forwards. So you're kind of asking for the arm to be over your ear. If it isn't, then I'll bring it back to the ceiling. And then let's push ourselves back. So we're going to push with that right foot, straighten and turn back to the front of the mat. Just give your legs a bit of a wiggle. Left and right footprint there. Realise how much you weight with that foot. So we move into the opposite side. So again, imagine you've got skis on, sliding your right foot forward, right foot back this time. So again, everything faces forwards as much as it can. And then tune into the length of your body from crown of head to pubic bone. Keep that space, locking and unlocking the front knee, and then hinging, folding. So from your pubic bone to your throat, sense the length we have in here. So again, feeling those muscles on the back are tightening, drawing down as you fold it. We have a little look at you. So your head's drooping forward slightly, Julie, or is it? No, it's not, it's just your fringe. That's it, there you go. So hinging first. Then you can take your left hand down to the shin, and that's it. That's moving towards that triangle pose. Lay your right arm on the side body, and then twist your right shoulder. So we're feeling this is a twist. So the beauty of this, hopefully, is that you feel that your spine is straight, and that twist becomes more apparent above your belly button. Reaching your right hand up, spread the fingers towards the ceiling. That's it. Reach, spread your fingers. You've gone quite low down. Mary Jane, take your hand a little bit higher, take your arm a little bit higher, bring your arm a little bit higher. Sorry. That's it, so your bum's not so tucked out. That's it, and then spread your fingers. Really try to touch the ceiling, so you can feel it all the way down the wrist. That's it, so it's more tucked in. that posture. And just pull your ribs into your spine again. That will deepen sensations of length through that side fascia. Turning your body towards the floor, bend off that left knee and come back to standing, and then step your feet together. So we're going to go into triangle another way. So imagining you're a gymnast with the beam beneath your feet. Lift your right knee, step and turn. So go wide. So your front foot is kind of middle of the mat still. Your back inner arch is somewhere in line with that of the front foot. The front heel, I should say. Your front knee isn't locked. Your arms are outstretched, and again you're looking out towards your left middle finger. Maybe have a look around the whole body. Are we lengthening out in all directions? Imagine the shelf beneath your left hand, and you're going to slide it along. Take the hand down to the shin, and the right hand kind of correspondingly goes up, spreading the fingers. That's it, bottom tucked in. You can feel that in the shoulder, maybe wrap the arm around the back body. Fantastic. Just make sure your front knee isn't locked out. So I tend to feel this as, support from that front foot, a little bit of a push all the way from the toes, supporting. Bend in your left knee, so we move towards our warrior two. So you're just going to steady your heart over your hips, looking out towards your left middle finger. Relax your right arm. Left hand goes onto that side, fingers on the inside. I tend to find works quite well, so you're kind of gripping your thigh, bending your elbows and just kind of leaning, support yourself first. So you're trying to create a line from your crown of your head to your heel. So it might be that this is where you stay. It could be that you want to take into a bit of a side bend by bending, placing that elbow down. So spread your fingers, push into the knee with the elbow, and then your right hand moves up to the ceiling. Spread your fingers. Again, imagine you're turning right on a bicycle. Those hands are spread from your little fingers to your thumb. And then if you wish, as you take that hand forwards, the arm is in line with the ear, palm goes down, and you're reaching towards the space in front of your mat. Fantastic. So that's it. Keep spreading those fingers, energy through that hand. You're pushing down with your right foot into the floor. And then let's turn towards the floor and sit down. Did I say that was hard? But actually, that's pretty tough as well, isn't it? Am I just outrageously lying to you for the entire class? Possibly am. I thought of something else I wanted to teach you at this point. I remembered what it was now. Right, so in my other lessons, we've been doing side clamshells. And taking it into twist. We could do that, or we could try and release QL. I don't know. What do you think? You're like, I have no idea how to release a QL. Just to the clamshells. What do you think, Julie?
What's a QL?
QL, it's those muscles here. I'm only saying that because mine just, yeah. Do you want to do it? Clamshells is this. I mean, we do these, don't we? And then we do circling, and then we go into a twist. It's that. I fancy doing a QL release with you actually, because it's quite relevant. Lay down on your backs with your knees bent. And I get to be yoga police in this one. I get to walk around and feel like I'm teaching you. When I'm doing sequences, I feel very pinned to the front of the mat, and I'm like, oh, I can't walk around. But with this one, I will have a look at you. Okay, so your QL muscle, it's either side of your spine. So you've got your psoas at the front, which I mentioned an awful lot. So if you can picture your ribs, and then if you can picture your spine from your throat down into your pelvis. On the front of your body, either side of your spine, you've got the psoas muscle, and its purpose is to stabilise this mast, this spine that you've got. And it's got an action, part of it goes into there's a little bit of an element of lifting up your knees, but some people say it's a hip flexor, but I see it as a stabilising muscle. On the back of your body, you've got a mirror muscle. It's called the quadratus lumborum. It's on the back side of your body, under your ribs, and its purpose is to tighten, to lift your hips up and to flex your spine from left to right. Some people just seem to be a bit locked on. Like I say, my husband's got a similar thing to me. It makes me wonder what's going on in our house, because I've got it as well, both lean to the left a little bit. So what we're going to try to do now is highlight, release, the sensation there, and hopefully release it. You never know. It might be you. So with your knees bent and your feet on the floor, Just like you to lift your right hip off of the floor. So you're just going to kind of tilt your weight onto your left hip. Your right hip lifts off the floor. That right sideways lifts off the floor. Your left hip is still down, and then sink your hips just back down to the floor. Just relax. So you're lifting your right hip off the floor. You kind of lean a little bit to your left. And as you do it, just watch your right knee. I want you to imagine that your right knee is going forwards as you do it. So sense your right knee pushing forwards as you do it. So keep both feet standing up. So if your feet are wobbling across to the side, your knees wobbling across the side, keep both feet standing up. So if this right hip lifts, think of your right knee going forward. That's it, right knee going forward. Try to keep your feet standing up. So watch your footprints. Keep your feet standing up. So one more time. That's it. And so what you're doing is you're lengthening the left side of your body a little tiny bit, and then come back down and just kind of notice that sensation that you're lengthening that left side of your body a tiny bit every time you lift your right knee, you lift your right hip. So what we're going to do now is add on to this movement. So lift your right hip and then slide your right shoulder. Lift your right hip. Slide your right shoulder down your back ribs, and then imagine you could pull your right arm under your body. And do you notice how you kind of go into a deeper C shape? Your head turns to the right, and then softly just unwind, let your hip come to the floor, take your arm out from underneath you, and settle down. So the two movements happen at the same time. So lift your right hip, and then slide your right shoulder down your back ribs, and then the arm comes under the body. Just let your head turn to the right a little bit, your nose will go to it, and then unwind, come back to the floor. So when you're ready, again, right hip lifts, then slide the shoulder, and then tuck the arm under the body. Your head tends to pull to that right side as it tightens. Unwind, come back to the floor, and let that movement go. Right hip lifts, right shoulder slides down, the arm comes under. Squeeze the knees together, press your thighs together, and it's going to lengthen that left side, tighten the right, and then unwind, come back from there, pause, let everything go. And then repeat that a couple more times. Right hip, right arm and shoulder, and then squeeze the thighs together, squeeze the thighs together, squeeze the thighs together. Come back up. Oh, you've got something moving on the knees. Come back. So your knees are going to stay upright. So right hip, right arm comes down. That's it. And then squeeze your thighs. Squeeze, and then unwind. Very relax. Oh, your foot's lifted. Relax your foot. So one last time, lift your right hip. Oh, look at your feet on the floor. Feet on the floor. Yep, so you just lift your right. Keep your feet on the floor, lift your hip. Don't touch your foot. That. And then slide your arm down and under the body. That's it. Squeeze your arm into your body. Squeeze your thighs in. Squeeze. And then relax from there. What we're doing is we're highlighting these muscles. We're bringing tension to these muscles. And then we're going to let go of these muscles. In theory, we're meant to do all that now as one big movement. So I tend to take an in-breath, psyching myself up, and then on the out-breath, I do the movement. So in-breath, visualising what I'm going to do. So it's hip, shoulder squeeze at the same time, and then try to do it. Hip, shoulder squeeze, and then melting away from that. So, you know, I've got something, like I said, dodgy going on my left side, and I can feel it as like cramping and as like an ow kind of thing. So you hopefully, inflicts a pain on you. I don't mean that, but that is something coming to light on you. We're going to switch sides. So we're just going to break it down. So when you're ready, lift the left hip up and drop it down. So your feet stay planted. And as you're doing it, just sense your left hip going forwards. Try to keep both feet standing up. Try to keep both knees standing up. And you're just lifting that left hip up off the floor, sensing how we lengthen that right side of the body. Just do it a few more times. Just get used to that sensation of lifting that left hip. And just going inside, feeling what could be happening. That little squeeze of that muscle at the back of the ribs, under the ribs, tightening to bring that left hip up. And then when you're ready, pause in, let go. Then we're going to lift the left hip, Slide the left shoulder down under the ribs and then squeeze that left arm in under the body. So you're kind of tightening that left side voluntarily and allow your nose to roll to point to the left. And then slowly unwind, let the movement go. Just let your hips settle, let your head roll back to middle. And then repeating, left hip comes off the floor. Slide the shoulder down and then that arm rolls in and under. Just let your head roll to left. Feel the squeeze deep into that left side and then unwind. Hip comes to the floor, arm rolls out, head turns back to middle. And then when you're ready, we'll just do it one more time. So again, lift the left hip. Arm slides under, that's it. And notice your head's rolling, that looks amazing. And then when you're ready, settle back down, let the movement go. I would just spread your feet out a tiny little bit. Just spread your feet out a tiny little bit. That might help them some balance and stick with it. So just one more time, lift your left hip. Slide your left shoulder down, let the arm kind of squeeze under the body. And then that little sense of melting away. So all we're adding next is the little thigh squeeze. So lift the left hip, slide the arm down and under, and then squeeze the thighs together. Press the left thigh against right thigh, right against left, and then release and melt. Just soften back to the middle, let go. And again, left hip, slide, squeeze, and then let go. Left hip, slide, squeeze, and let go. I can really feel it all the way to my left ear, this wonky bit getting a bit of an attack. So the next movement is the whole thing together in one movement. So like I say, on the in-breath, I'm visualizing it. On the out-breath, I'm doing it. And then releasing. So all we're going to do now is lift the right hip, then lift the left hip so you're in a little bridge. Drop the right hip towards the floor. When it meets the floor, press the lower back into the floor and roll your left hip into the floor. And at the end, melt and let go. So lift the right hip, then lift the left hip, then drop the right hip. So you turn your pelvis. Once that hip finds the floor, press your lower back in, roll your left hip to the floor. Melt and let go. Lift the right hip when you're ready. Lift the left hip. Drop the right hip. Press that lower back into the floor, melt and let go at the end. And then we just got to repeat the opposite side. When you're ready, lift the left hip, then the right hip. Drop the left hip. That's it. And then press that lower back into the floor, melt and let go. It's a lengthy little sequence, this one, but I really do feel that it is very beneficial. You'd be pleased to know we've done. Slide your feet out of the floor in front of you and just then pay attention to the way your body is resting into the floor through the hips, the lower back, the ribs, the neck. And sensing your breath in the centre of all that. I sprung relaxation on you, didn't I? There's no twisting or anything. Just tuning into the rhythm of your breath. And just notice your breath. I'm not doing any pranayama today, we're just observing the breath. Just allow your mind just to kind of wander down your posture. Notice your spine floating through the centre of your body. Starting to observe your mind now. What is your mind doing? So all practices lead to yoga. There's many forms of yoga. There's yantra, where people draw pictures, mantra, where people repeat phrases and songs. We have Hatha yoga, which is what we practice in this lesson, so the yoga of movement and effort and force. But yoga is the mind state that we achieve after all these practices. And I just keep coming back to, like, in my mind, I never really say it, but there's this little phrase, being absorbed in the infinite, which I think is pretty difficult to do, but just notice where your attention's lying. It could be that your attention's lying in your breath. It could be that you're absorbing yourself in the sensations that flow through your body. But in our daily lives, we identify with the things that we're going to do. You know, I have got to do this, I have got to do that. But just, notice the separateness of this today. That you find yourself kind of watching yourself almost like a different, separate being, a separate entity. And just observing your breath and observing sensations. And just who is doing all this observation? When you're ready, let's stand our feet up on the floor and just roll that lower back, have a little play with it, just tip it from side to side, tip it forwards and backwards. Notice maybe how it moves, notice any sensations you would normally connect to that movement of the lower back. Bringing your knees in towards your belly, extend your feet to the ceiling, roll to seated. And then